Yo.
It's 2023 and we are back.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to a brand new episode of Retroholics. Retroholics is back. I go by the name of Skillet.
It's me, Free Thought.
And good to see you.
Good to see you, sir. It's been a minute.
It's been a minute, man. We've been quiet, but we are here with a brand new episode and we can't wait to get into this one. Before we start, how you been, man?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. I think the cost of living crisis has kept me a little bit of a hermit, but we outside. And let's get this.
And we're back to talk about what we're going to talk about today.
Well, we're going to talk about a 40-episode animated show that lasted 7 series from 1986 to 1991, playing off some of what was the 1984 hit Ghostbusters, borrowing a lot but still doing its own thing. Skillet, what's it going to be?
That can only be one thing. That can only be the real Ghostbusters. So Ghostbusters, the 1984 American Hollywood blockbuster movie. It was a supernatural comedy directed by Ivan Reitman and written by Dan Aykroyd, who obviously at that time was famous for a lot of his comedy movies, stand-up, SNL, which I think where he met Bill Murray was SNL. Yeah. And him and Bill Murray did a string of films together. And they wanted Bill Murray to be one of the main draws for people to watch this movie. But it was also written by Harold Ramis. I don't want to take away from him. Harold Ramis also helped write this film. But who was Harold Ramis before this film? Did you know what he did?
No. Please enlighten me if you know, sir.
So Harold Ramis was an established writer. He wrote stuff for Playboy magazine, which led him on to write stuff for films like National Lampoon, Meatballs, which Bill Murray starred in. National Lampoon, John Belushi starred in that. So he had, he was kind of coming up in that circle where, that circle with John Belushi, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, who were all doing great things in the 70s and the 80s. And this is what led him to help co-write Ghostbusters with Dan Aykroyd. So this film is about 3 Ghostbusters, people who realize that ghosts do exist in the world in New York, and these guys get together to stop the ghosts. Obviously, a 4th member does join, which originally was going to be Eddie Murphy. We'll get into that later. But this was a massive success, man. This film had like a 25 to 30 million budget. And at the end of the film, when the film came out in its first week, it grossed like 282 million.
Crazy.
That was like the second highest grossing film of 1984.
And you got to realize that the budget for this was pretty low for its time as well. They were using all tangible effects.
Yeah.
And
I just said there was the second highest grossing film in 1984. Guess what number 1 was?
Star Wars, Back to the Future.
1984. Right. Beverly Hills Cop, man.
Oh, crazy.
Shout out to Eddie Murphy, man.
Shout out to Eddie, getting that money.
Imagine if he was in this movie, how much more money he would have made. Crazy. But yeah, so This led on to be a global phenomenon, ranked as one of the greatest films of all time. Still to this day, this has got a massive following. People love it. There's been sequels spawned from this. There's been now a new movie that's come out in recent years, which is kind of like a closing capture trilogy of the first two original films. There's been a spin-off movie. There's been cartoons. There's been video games. There's been comics. Anything you believe in, that merch will have. The T-shirts still sell loads to this day. So this is what launched it all, this movie. And you just know that the likes of Dan Aykroyd has been eating from this movie ever since.
Nice.
You know, this is an iconic movie, deemed as one of the best movies of all time. Starring the comedy acts, legends at that time of Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd. It had Harold Ramis in it. Sigourney Weaver is in it.
Aliens fame at the time, I think.
Yeah, she had the Aliens fame, obviously. Rick Moranis, who was a big legend at that time in the 70s and the 80s. And Ernie Hudson.
Here we are with a totally labor of love that's been pushed back for multiple years. Using at the time a lot of puppeteering, a lot of tangible effects is what we like to is the word we like to say.
Yeah,
and they didn't know the magic that they had, but obviously it became a huge success. Worldwide. It
was a massive success. This is deemed as one of the best movies of all time. Still gets played. It got played on New Year's Eve.
Wow.
Just the other day, and I watched it, and I was like, yeah, man, we have our notes. We already planned for this episode already by this time, but I was like, I can't wait to dive into this, man. It's such a great film, classic, iconic, and worldwide renowned success all over. I mean, we could talk about this movie for years, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It had a sequel, never had a third film, but it has other films that spawn of it today. So you got Ghostbusters 2, Ghostbusters movie with spin-off with the ladies as the.
I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't acknowledge that one?
I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry.
So Freefall has this thing where he doesn't like that film. I don't mind it. It's not as good, and obviously it doesn't hold a candle to the original. But yeah.
Yeah, so there's Ghostbusters 1, Ghostbusters
enjoyable.
2, and Ghostbusters Afterlife. That's all that's canon, and that's all we need to talk about.
Okay.
But yeah.
Yeah, so after the success of the first film, did Ghostbusters, the Real Ghostbusters cartoon, spawn after the sequel, or was it spawned before the sequel?
It was spawned before the sequel.
Right, okay.
So that
would make sense.
Yeah,
actually.
they did make changes to include what happens in the sequel, and we'll get into that later. But yeah, it was before Ghostbusters 2.
The Ghostbusters 2 film was a massive success as well, but people didn't really praise that as well as the first one, which is deemed as one of the greatest movies ever made. So with a lot of years out and not much Ghostbusters material coming out in the late 90s, I'll say 97 to 98, Extreme Ghostbusters was formed. This was a series that continued from the 80s Real Ghostbusters cartoon with a new team. 3 of the original members, Egon, Janine, and Slimer, was the head of this new Extreme Ghostbusters team. But you had 4 new members: Roland, Gareth, Kylie, and Eduardo. So this new cartoon was a bit more about diversity, actually, because Roland was a black Harvard graduate, very intelligent. So you look back at you just talked about Winston and how he wasn't treated with the utmost respect. They rectified that in Extreme Ghostbusters.
Interesting.
Gareth was an all-American, athletic white gentleman, but he was bound to a wheelchair. So you had some of a disability part of the team, and that's really good for kids who are disabled to see that they can be heroes too. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kylie was like a goth, I believe, white / like Chinese origin character. I think she was mixed race between white and Chinese. And she was the one that, the most brave, kick-ass, maybe kind of really the real leader of that team. And you got Eduardo, a Latin representative who was loyal to the core, loyal to his team. And, that's what I really liked about it. Do you know who voiced Roland, the black character? Carlton Banks, Alfonso Ribeiro.
That's crazy.
Voiced Carlton. Voiced Roland in Extreme Ghostbusters. And the last ever episode of Extreme Ghostbusters, you see the old band get back together. The original team joins in the part 2 series, a 2-part series of the end of the Extreme Ghostbusters to defeat a threat that these youngers couldn't control and handle. And it was great to see the old band back together. They had the original cast, voice members, everything. It was brilliant.
That's crazy.
You know
I'm
what?
gonna go and try and catch that.
Yeah, it obviously doesn't hold a candle to the real Ghostbusters, but I would say it was a good follow-up. I'm gonna give it a round of applause.
Damn. Because
I'm gonna give you a round of applause, Extreme Ghostbusters. Big up yourself.
The time that came out, I just don't think I was in the frame of mind of catching a Ghostbusters. It just seemed so far removed.
I get it. Listen, let me tell you something.
Let
me tell you something. When you love something and they change it drastically, you're gonna get tricked. Like, it took me a while to appreciate how great Batman Beyond was, because I'm a Batman fanatic. Right. So Batman the Animated Series is my favorite cartoon ever. So when they did Batman Beyond, I snubbed it. It's just like what you did with Extreme Ghostbusters. I snubbed it. Excellent. But then after like a year or two later, let me give it a go. And I fell in love with it completely.
Amazing, yeah.
So I get it.
Okay.
I get it. Also, Ghostbusters not only had a toy line, which you mentioned, a great toy line, but it also had video games. So the evolution of Ghostbusters games, I got a little list here of from 1984 all the way to 2009. I don't think there's been a Ghostbusters game since 2009, so that needs to get rectified. From 1984, you had Ghostbusters, Atari, Ghostbusters, that was on the Atari, Master System, Nintendo NES. Then you had the Real Ghostbusters, which is based on the cartoon, in 1987. That was an arcade game. 1989, Ghostbusters 2 came out. You can find that in Amiga and Amstrad. Remember Amstrad? Those little PC computer games. In 1990, you had a Ghostbusters shoot 'em up game that was on Sega. New Ghostbusters, which is New Ghostbusters 2. That was on the Nintendo NES and the Game Boy. You had in 2001 Extreme Ghostbusters, the video game, which is on the Game Boy Color. 2002, Extreme Ghostbusters Code Ecto 1, which was in the Game Boy Advanced. So a lot of these games are kind of more for Game Boy games. 2003, 2004, Extreme Ghostbusters Unlimited Invasion, which was in PlayStation 1. And then in 2009, Ghostbusters, the video game, which was more rooted on the 1984 film. That you can find on Nintendo Switch, PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, PlayStation 2, any portable games like Xbox One. That got great reviews. And then in 2019, they did a remastered version and the graphics look incredible. More detailed, more like the movies. So that's the evolution of video games of Ghostbusters. And then in 2021, we saw Ghostbusters Afterlife.
Excellent.
This was a really good follow-up. This was a good end, a nice closing trilogy factor to the original two. Which is, it fast forwards, it's up to date now.
Yeah. It's a shame that Harold wasn't with us. It took so long.
Obviously, by this time, rest in peace to Harold Ramis, because he passed away by this time.
But it was excellent.
But they did a nice, lovely, watch this film if you're a Ghostbusters fan. If you just enjoyed the films, they do a lovely, sweet tribute to Harold Ramis at the end of this movie. Bill Murray's back, Dan Aykroyd comes back, Ernie Hudson comes back, Paul Rudd's in it, Finn Wolfhard, is in it, from Stranger Things fame. It's a really good, a good, nice closing ending film, and then I believe they will make a new one.
No, for sure. Well, we can only hope, but I think as we've expanded and even talked about nonsense things as well, I think we should talk quickly about the evolution in toys, because we left it at Kenner, but of course, Extreme Ghostbusters had their toy line. They were created by Trendmasters in 1997. And just because it was made by a smaller company and the success of the show wasn't huge, the toys became very rare and actually are quite expensive to this day. Right. Further down the line, about 10 years ago, Select Toys, Diamond Select Toys, a US company, made amazing articulated Real Ghostbusters figures, which now are going for triple the price on the aftermarket.
Wow.
And now Hasbro has the toy license for Ghostbusters, and they have made original figures for the movie and Afterlife as well.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ghostbusters is going to make a comeback. It's going to make a huge comeback.
No, definitely. I mean,
They're bringing back the franchise, baby.
The definitely the hope, because obviously we're trying to stay mainly with the Real Ghostbusters. So the hope is that Hasbro will make a Real Ghostbusters toy line, a modernized one, but at the moment it's only movie. And I think it was a big change for the time, because obviously it was more about marketing and making money.
Yeah.
Like, so it was like toys.
Yes.
You needed a cartoon to go with the toys.
Yes, that's right.
And so this was actually a series that was, okay, we did a movie, let's not even dumb it down, but let's make it a little bit kid friendly. And I think they executed it excellently. This is probably one of my top 5 IPs of all time. Like
as in Ghostbusters, the IP line.
Yeah.
Films, merchandise.
Yeah.
Cartoons, whatever,
Yeah.
comics, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's definitely got a special place in my heart.
Well, this is going to be a free thought day then. This episode is you, because I do love Ghostbusters, but I know I don't have that love for it as much as you do. So I feel you should take the reins and let's talk about this cartoon. Let's break this down, my brother.
All right, let's go. Okay, so before there was Ghostbusters, there was The Ghostbusters, a completely unrelated 1975 live-action television sitcom produced by Filmation that ran for a single season of 15 episodes about a team of paranormal investigators, one of whom was a gorilla. So during the production of Ghostbusters the movie, Columbia Pictures licensed the name from Universal Studios, the then owners of Filmation's The Ghostbusters. The agreement did not guarantee either party rights to create a cartoon based on the 1984 film Ghostbusters at any point, regardless of performances. Ultimately, that went to Dick Entertainment. So in the rush to get to a series in production, the now legendary promo pilot episode was born. Storyboarded by Eddie Fitzgerald and director Kevin Altieri, Ghostbusters movie producers Joe Medjick and Michael Gross sat in to make sure the original spirit of the movie was retained as executive producers of the cartoon. I'm surprised Dan Aykroyd didn't jump in on there as well, but you know, that's cool. So to avoid likeness rights, we all heard the rumors of how Bill Murray can get behind the scenes.
Right.
And the intent was not to reproduce the characters literally. Because a lot of people are like, oh, but this guy didn't look like this guy. I mean, that was intended.
Right.
So at the same time Ghostbusters animated series was being created, Filmation was making a cartoon revamp of the 1970s live-action series The Ghostbusters.
Let's go, Ghostbusters!
It was a dope theme tune, to be fair.
Right.
No. It's classic, and now that you played it, it's, you know, filling me with reminiscing.
Okay.
So, but due to the disagreements with Columbia over animation rights, The Real, in inverted commas, was added to the title after the dispute with Filmation and the Ghostbusters properties just didn't work out. And comics now. So 2 ongoing Real Ghostbusters comics were published. One by Now Comics in the US, and the other published weekly, originally bi-weekly, by Marvel Comics in the UK over here. So, maybe we could
The comics of Ghostbusters, the film?
No, of the real Ghostbusters.
So the Real Ghostbusters had a comic line and everything?
Yep.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So even to this day, there's iterations of that comic. Like, it matches between the cartoon storyline and the movie storyline, and there's been awesome crossovers with the Ninja Turtles and I think even maybe Batman, etc. But yeah, like the comics lore is strong and still going to this day. So let's go into the Real Ghostbusters characters and some of the voice actors. So first up is Dr. Peter Venkman. So Venkman was voiced by Lorenzo Music, who was also the voice of Garfield, and he was through seasons 1 and 2. David Coulier took over for seasons 3 and 7. Venkman is the group's first among equals. While not their official leader, Venkman often makes the decisions whether or not they will take a case. He also provides comic relief and usually nominated for tasks no one else wants to do.
Right.
And then we have Dr. Egon Spengler. So Egon, voiced by Maurice LaMarche, rest in peace. Maurice was also the voice of the Brain from Animaniacs. So it's quite cool that, the most intelligent characters from both series are voiced by this same voice actor.
Yeah, that's cool.
So Egon was a scientific genius and is the primary source of expertise the group uses to understand and many times combat the ethereal realm. A skilled theorist, in many episodes, Egon formulates the solutions when all hope seems lost. And then we have Dr. Ray Stantz. So Ray was voiced by Frank Welker, and Welker was one of the most prolific voice actors of all time.
Amazing.
He voiced Fred from Scooby-Doo, Megatron, Galvatron, Soundwave, a slew of Smurfs, and the list goes on. Stantz is portrayed as an excitable jack of all trades. He is second only to Egon in sheer intelligence and leans towards practical applications of science as opposed to Egon's pure research.
Right.
The engineer to Egon's physicist.
Okay.
He's also a child at heart, cheerful and optimistic, and rather enamored with cartoons and stuffed animals, as we know. As the only one of the 4 who can really understand what Egon is talking about, he is usually the one to put his theories into practice. And then we have Winston Zeddemore. So, did you know that Ernie Hudson went in to voice the part of Winston?
Yes, he did. You told me before that Ernie Hudson actually had an audition to voice his own character in the film, and
he didn't get it. the task went to Arsenio Hall, the legend, and he looked after Winston from seasons 1 to 3, and he did a good job.
Yeah, he was amazing.
He did a good job.
Can't really hate on that.
And then from seasons 4 through 7, it was Buster Jones. And Winston is the courage and straight man of the group. His accuracy with the proton gun is his forte. And of all the Ghostbusters, Winston Zeddemore was the most subtle character development.
Okay.
Unfortunately. It is hinted, though, that he is an avid reader and the descendant of a powerful African bloodline. And then we have Janine Melnitz. So Janine was voiced by Laura Summer through seasons 1 and 2, and then by Kath Soucie from season 3 through to 7.
Right.
And she was the secretary of the Ghostbusters and has the hots for Egon.
Okay.
And then in season 5, Louis Tully was introduced, and he was voiced by Roger Bumpus.
Okay.
And Lewis is the accountant for the Ghostbusters and was put in the cartoon following Lewis Tully's character in Ghostbusters 2, the movie. And then finally, we have Slimer, who was voiced by Frank Welker, also the legend, and is the pet of the Ghostbusters, and is the only ghost that will stay still for Egon to test and study. Mm-hmm. In the Kenner toy line, he was known as the Green Ghost. So obviously, there's a slew of equipment needed to bust ghosts. So let's go into that quickly. So we've got the proton packs, of course, the particle thrower, the PKE meter, of course, the ghost trap, the ecto goggles, the containment unit, and I guess the uniform could be used as said equipment as well. Crazy amount of vehicles as well. We have the Ecto 1, which is the prime vehicle they used. The Ecto 2 was a small open-top 2-seater helicopter. Ecto 3 was a motorized unicycle and sidecar. Ecto 4 was a time distortion jet-like vehicle. Ecto Bomber just was an aeroplane. The Ecto Ichi was an extremely high-tech 6-wheeled ectomobile used by the Ghostbusters in the Japan episode.
Awesome.
Then they had the Ecto Junior, which was a go-kart that the Junior Ghostbuster used. It was also the name of a vehicle used by the Ghostbusters in the episode My Left Fang. Then, of course, the legendary New York Firehouse.
Yeah. Awesome. Absolutely awesome. Iconic stuff. Man.
Iconic. I mean, like the original New York Firehouse from the movie is a protected building.
Right.
Now, and you can go there and have a look and stuff.
Correct me if I'm wrong, they used the same firehouse in the Afterlife film at the end, right?
Oh yeah, no, of course. Yeah, forget. Crazy. Yes. Very important part of Ghostbusters is how they categorize and they know all this information about ghosts. So all the information is in Tobin's Spirit Guides by the fictional author John Horace Tobin.
Okay.
And basically that's a book that serves as a compilation of various supernatural occurrences, entities, and facts. It is said that the computer software version is rare and very expensive.
Okay.
Egon and Ray refer to it so frequently that they may have entire sections memorized. Copies of the book have been shown to be available in hardback, paperback, and electronic media. Tobin's Spirit Guide often helps the Ghostbusters with identifying entities involved in the cases that they take on. So finally, there's the CDI system, or the Corporeal Density Index.
Okay.
And this is a way to set categories to types of supernatural phenomenon. It's a 3-part system used by the Ghostbusters when addressing the paranormal they are coming into contact with. The CDI system was first brought up in the Ghostbusters film by Ray after busting the ghost haunting the Cedric Hotel. If you remember, he proudly shows off the trap and says,
Sir, what you had there was what we refer to as a focused, non-terminal repeating phantasm, or a class 5 full roaming vapor. Real nasty one, too.
And I guess that gets us basically into the episode that I want to talk about. And basically, it's the episode called Citizen Ghosts. And basically, this is where the origin of the Ghostbusters is told, or
right.
in terms of how the movie ties in with the cartoon.
Okay.
It's basically a flashback episode. So Peter reveals that the suits were replaced with new ones that are in new colors. So that explains the new colors. Gozer was taken out by the old suits and had ectoplasmic residue, and Peter was supposed to destroy them. Obviously, he's a lazy bugger, so he didn't. Also in that episode, it's revealed that Slimer stuck around the firehouse, and while Peter didn't like him, the others, after a few days, grew to like him, as he was harmless and a valuable research tool. Ray names him to spite Peter, and at the end of the episode, the Ghostbusters are in serious trouble with ghostly versions of themselves, which look really cool, actually. It's going to pop up right now. That want to get them out of business. Slimer wears them out as they fire at him, wasting their ecto energy. And because of this, the Ghostbusters are able to capture the ghosts. Slimer earns his spot as a mascot and friend of the Ghostbusters. And then finally, in the episode Take 2, this explains in a way the differences between the cartoon and the film. So the film, according to this episode, was made based on the events of the cartoon. So inside
That's
jokes.
pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. Inside jokes about the film are all over this episode, and that's definitely worth a watch too.
I do like how if you watch the series, there'll be episodes. I'm not going to list the episodes, but there'll be episodes that will have loads of references to the films. Like this, the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man will show up, Gozer will show up, the Terror Dogs will show up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
no, definitely,
I just
definitely.
love that. I love all of that.
Yeah.
Okay, cool, awesome. Now, when it comes to the Real Ghostbusters, obviously because it's a cartoon and it's obviously, even though it's aimed for kids, really and truly. Did you feel that they had to change things so the kids could be a bit more understanding about the difference and recognizable of the different characters that the Ghostbusters are? Because, like, you know, you just mentioned that episode that talks about the events after Ghostbusters 1, and they all wear the same color jumpsuits, but obviously it explains why the jumpsuits got trashed because of the marshmallow. Remember, because they had to wash the jumpsuits after the marshmallow attack from Ghostbusters 1. But now you go forward to the cartoon, they've got now new jumpsuits and they're all different colors. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's obviously done as a marketing tool for merchandise and to tell the kids apart. To the kids can tell apart the characters. Exactly,
it's literally the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles affair. Oh, we don't want them.
All
you know, how the
red.
kids gonna tell them apart with just wearing the same bandana, and I mean,
makes sense.
You know, it makes sense.
It does work.
And I think I like the new suits.
Yeah.
In the, you know,
me too.
It you know, is a bit colourful and it gave each character a little bit more of
personality
as well. No, that was cool. I haven't got beef with that, but yeah, no, definitely. I think for marketing and making things kid friendly, they're always going to dumb it down a bit, aren't they?
Yeah, of course.
You've got an episode, right, that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, let's talk about episode 1, which was it's called Ghost Are Us. It's written by Len Jansen and Chuck Menville. This episode kicks off with the Ghostbusters riding in the Ecto 1. They hear a disturbance in a chocolate factory. You know, the Ghostbusters arrive, and Slimer does what he does. Cowardly hides underneath a car while any trouble's about. But the chocolate factory, they attend the chocolate factory, and the chocolate factory explodes. Basically, the factory's raining chocolate. And that is what motivates Slimer to face his fears and come out the car and eat all the chocolate that's around. But Ray knows, okay, there's something in this factory, there's a ghost, people have been reported there's a ghost, so he's eager to get in there. He gets in there, gets face smacks full of chocolate, same with Winston. They all try to go in there and, you know, find out what the issue is. They find 3 ghosts that's in this chocolate factory called Slug, Snog, and Zonk. The Ghostbusters chase after them. The ghosts escape through some pipes. While they're trying to find the pipes, look them where they are in the pipes, Winston gets a face full of chocolate himself. Peter zaps the pipes with those ghost-busting guns, and they finally get the ghost out of the pipes and trap it with the you know, the Ghostbuster famous traps. They all celebrate a victory, head back to the headquarters. They give Janine a box of chocolates that they got from this factory, but when they open up the box, the chocolates are gone because Slimer. That's what Slimer does. He's all of it. Ray puts the traps away in the storage unit as the Ghostbusters go to bed. While all the Ghostbusters are asleep, Slimer can't sleep and he's dreaming. Actually, no, he is sleeping, but he dreams of being hungry. So he goes down to get some food out of the fridge. Makes a noise, wakes Winston up. Winston goes down to check the disturbance at the storage unit. Slimer hides. But when he hides in the storage unit, he trips over a lever and it releases all the ghosts. Slimer tries to stop it, but the 3 ghosts that they originally they just captured from the chocolate factory escape. Now there's another disturbance at a local hospital that the Ghostbusters arrive, but when they get there, they've been told by the patients and the nurses and everything that the trouble is all sorted, and another team has sorted out this disturbance.
Say what?
Yeah, and this team is called Ghost Are Us. They've already saved the day. They've already trapped the ghost that was disturbing the hospital. And the Ghostbusters are like, oh, okay, I guess, you know, we're not needed here. They go back home. Janine's on the phone. She gets a call and she's like, hello, Ghostbusters, as she always does. And they were like, what? We don't want Ghostbusters. We want Ghosts Are Us. So the word is around that there's a new team in town that's more, you know, faster, more more efficient than the Ghostbusters, and they're called the Ghosts Are Us. So this is obviously a rival for Ghostbusters. This is not good for them. This is not good for business. So Ghostbusters are so confused. They're like, they never heard of these guys before. Who are Ghosts Are Us? There's another issue that happens, and they go there, and it's Ghosts Are Us again, saving the day. But one of the members of Ghosts Are Us kind of exposed that they are the ghosts that Ghostbusters originally captured from the storage unit. But Ghostbusters still don't really clock on. They're still confused. They're like, oh, these guys look familiar. I don't know. Who are these guys? So Ghostbusters start tailing them, start chasing after them, trying to find out who these guys are. Janine rings on the telecom while they're trying to chase after Ghosts Are Us that they are 3 ghosts short at the storage unit. Peter says, this is why we recognize them. These are the ghosts that we got before. And then they're like, how can they get released? Who would release? How would have they escaped the storage unit? And then they all clock that it's Slimer. Slimer hides underneath the car seat. And so Janine finds the secret hideaway of Ghosts Are Us. And
how does she even find that?
I'm sure it's explained somehow.
Yeah.
I probably didn't write that in my notes. So they find the Ghosts Are Us. The Ghosts Are Us all summon a smoke monster. But the smoke monster is really, really scary, really bad. That scares the Ghosts Are Us into their hideaway. This smoke monster is happy that he's released and finds he can do this thing where he can manipulate any sort of objects around him and turns it into like another big monster. So there's like some toys in this hideaway. He goes into the toys and he comes like a real huge toy-like villain. Ray's got that thing that can detect what a ghost is.
The PKA meter.
And the meter's going off the scales. It's like, this is a class 8-3 Roman vapor. That's what he calls it. Wow. Egon said, no, Ray, it's worse. It's full magnitude class 10. I mean, you would know what that means.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like, that's technically more powerful than Gozer from the movie. So, yeah.
So the Ghostbusters do a ecto launch. So Egon chased after the monster on a helicopter launched out of the vehicle. So
that's Ecto 2?
Ecto 2, that's right. Apparently, this was supposed to be part of the toy brands, but it never came out. Just a little fun fact there. The toy monster kills hundreds of people in the city. If you look at the city, if you look at the motorways, the bridges, it's pure destruction. Like, there's no way these people would survive this. Ghostbusters follow the path of destruction. They see the Ghosts Are Us are heading out of the exit. Ghostbusters capture them on the trap. So Ghosts Are Us already dealt with now. But the whole team has to rally together to defeat this monster. So, Egon tries to get closer to it with the Ecto 2. The monster kind of bats it away, kind of like, King Kong with the helicopters around it. You see they go back to the destruction of the city. Peter and Winston show up, but as soon as they see the monster, they reverse as quick as they can before the monster could get to them. Egon and Ray and Slimer fly towards the monster, shooting it with the ray gun. The monster shoots up a Jack-in-the-Box type figurehead and scares the Ghostbusters. Egon flies away, circling back to the monster as Ray shoots a grapple across the bridge. The monster yanks the rope, which drags the helicopter down and spins Egon, Ray, and Slimer around and around. Winston and Peter comes out of the car and blast the monster with their plasma guns at the monster.
Particle thrower.
This actually hurts the monster, as it always does. It hurts every monster that they shoot at. The monster falls, and he releases Egon and Ray. Slimer falls out the helicopter, and when Ray and Egon falls, they crash, and Slimer splats onto the bridge. The monster runs onto the bridge cables. Slimer's not scared of the monster now, and he charges at the monster. When he charges at the monster, he leaves a trail of slime on the bridge. And Ray and Egon sees that. The slime causes the monster to slip. Egon sets the helicopter to overload. Ray and Egon flees and jumps away from the helicopter, which explodes. This the Ecto 2 blows up. The rope from the grapple hook is attached to the monster's leg now. So the monster and the Ecto 2 all fall into the river. The monster kind of jumps out to kind of be like Jaws to come back to get more too, but the Ecto 2 blows up at this time. The Ecto 2 was on a timer, and as the monster slips off the cable, he takes the Ecto 2 with him as they fall into the river. While the monster's trying to come back to get his revenge, the Ecto 2 in the river explodes.
Crazy.
So it kills the monster. And basically, it causes a huge explosion. The monster dies. The Ecto 2, they sacrifice the Ecto 2 to save the day. And the Ghostbusters are greeted by the firemen, emergency services, and the public, all cheering them on. Slimer gives Peter a kiss. Egon says, "We did a great job, and Ghosts Are Us are in the trap." And that's the end.
That is one exciting episode.
Action-packed episode right there. And it was really fun. And that just kind of set the tone of what the Ghostbusters cartoon series was going to be like going forward. And I felt like they did a great job to make it very faithful to the film. The characters, all 4 characters are very much like the characters in the film. So it's like, as a kid, you wouldn't know the difference. You would probably think that Bill Murray, Ernie Hudson, Howard Ramis, and Dan Aykroyd are all doing the voices. Like, all the voice actors done a great job of emulating these iconic characters.
No, definitely. I mean, it's like, can you imagine seeing that,
on your first
as a
episode?
kid? Yeah, on the first episode. Damn.
It's very loyal to the film.
Yeah, very loyal. I mean, let's be honest, it wasn't all good. So I think season 1 and 2, excellent. And that's kind of perfection, like in the Real Ghostbusters world. Like after season 3, things dipped. And let's get into maybe why. So in the 3rd season, some of the characters' designs were modified. Ray's character design was slimmed down to give the character a less overweight appearance, and Slimer was given a tail instead of his formerly rounded butt. He reverted back to the butt, though, in season 6. The biggest change was to the character of Janine, though, whose hair was completely changed from being short and spiky to long and straight. Okay. Her overall design was softened, too edgy and sexy for young girls.
Interesting.
I did fancy OG Janine, so I don't know, maybe. Most of these changes were the result of ABC hiring a consulting firm called Q5 in an attempt for guidance on improving the network's low ratings for their whole Saturday morning lineup. A move strongly criticized by show writers Straczynski and Reeves. ABC also went back and redubbed Peter and Janine's dialogue in several older episodes of the show with Dave Coulier and Katsushi, respectively. Changes to Janine's character were eventually addressed in season 6 episode entitled Janine, You've Changed. I love how Ghostbusters was so meta before we knew what meta was. Right. Like they were doing in-jokes all the time. Right. Many of the changes brought on by Q5 were even criticized by Straczynski as being racist and sexist.
Wow.
Such as having each Ghostbuster having a specific role, Peter being the mouth, Ray the hands, Egon the brain, but making Winston, the only African-American character, the driver. Also,
I did not think of that.
Also, I said like he was the least character improvement throughout the series as well.
Hey, yo, Ghostbusters, man.
Yeah.
Nah, I'm joking.
It's a bit shame.
I'm joking.
Another example would be stating how the character of Janine needed to be more nurturing, put in more dress-like outfits, and make her less harsh and slutty. At the start of the 4th season in 1988, the opening was completely redone to center around Slimer. And for me, this was really the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
Eventually, the episodes were expanded from the original half-hour format to last an hour. And the overall feel of the show was changed to be more youthful, with episodes having a lighter tone to be less frightening. And by season 5, Lewis Tully was added to the show in order to follow Ghostbusters 2. I mean, yeah, it was a shame. But this is a perfect segue for what I want to say next. But have you got a Skillet's Top 5?
Usually this segment is called Skillet's Top 5, but I've decided to talk about cartoon films that are based on blockbuster movies in general.
Oh, we're changing it up for the new year. Okay.
So it's not going to be a top 5. I just got a list of cartoons and any number of cartoons, and I'm going to mention them. And then if you've got things that I haven't thought of, feel free to chuck it in.
Okay.
So
I might not, because I don't want more editing to do, but
Ace Ventura the Pet Detective, 1995 cartoon,
yes,
based off the iconic movie
Epic.
Ace Ventura Pet Detective. Obviously, Bruce mentioned the Ghostbusters. Back to the Future, 1991.
Yes.
It was a cartoon based on the iconic Back to the Future film series. Clerks, you know that Kevin Smith.
Was it just not like just like a DVD bonus extra.
Maybe, yeah. Maybe I shouldn't put that. No, I think it was like 2 episodes that was on ABC, but it got cancelled.
no.
But it got cancelled.
I gotta go check for
Beetlejuice,
that.
989.
Yeah.
Beetlejuice,
Love
iconic,
that.
based on the
Classic.
classic Tim Burton movie. Karate Kid,
Damn.
989.
I haven't seen that.
Mr. Miyagi and
What?
Daniel's son all up in there.
I'm gonna go check that today.
The Mummy, the animated series, 2001.
Okay. Yeah.
Highlander, remember the Highlander cartoon?
Oh yeah,
That was dope.
That was dope. I didn't see much of that, but that was dope.
Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, I haven't watched an episode.
A lot of Jim Carrey films been
yeah.
cartoons.
He lends
He's
himself.
animated himself.
Yeah, you know.
Jumanji, 996.
Damn.
Police Academy,
Yes,
1988.
yes, that was dope.
RoboCop, the animated series, 1988. Bill and Ted Excellent Adventures,
Yeah, banging. Used to love that.
1990.
Bill
The
and
Mask
Ted
animated
Excellent.
series.
Yeah.
Men in Black.
Oh yeah. That was
1997.
actually dope. That was
good.
new school. Yeah, that was
Same.
dope.
I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Same people that created Men in Black also did the Extreme Ghostbusters. The same animation, I believe, and I believe same with the Jumanji cartoon. But I could be wrong.
Okay.
That's what from what I can see.
Yeah.
Rambo, The Force of Freedom, 1986.
Oh damn.
Do you remember the Godzilla cartoon series that was based off the 1998-7 Godzilla movie? Remember that Godzilla movie?
Yeah.
There was remember that dope animated series that came out from it?
Yeah,
That was pretty dope.
that was pretty dope.
And I think, and obviously, the last one, which I didn't write down actually, because I thought, actually, I'm not going to include this, because even though it was slightly based off the Tim Burton Batman movies, it was still more about the comics of Batman. You know, Batman the animated series.
Okay, yeah.
I can't really put that down.
No. That was.
But
It
it was very heavily influenced by the Tim Burton Batman movies as well, though.
Okay.
But no, we're not going, because obviously they borrowed the same theme.
Yeah. Exactly.
So there's, a little homage to the movies,
Yeah.
but it was more about the comics, really and truly.
Definitely.
But yeah, that's my list there.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else off the top of my head. Like,
I mean, I'm sure there's a lot more.
Yeah. No doubt. I do know that there was Aliens was developed.
The movie.
Yeah. I think there's even like a trailer for it, but it never got a green light. It never happened. That would have been interesting. All these R-rated movies that they made into kids' cartoons.
What about Attack of Killer Tomatoes? Was that?
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
that's one that
I used to love the movie and I love the cartoon as well. Yeah, that's classic.
Toxic Crusaders.
Oh, yeah.
That was based on a Toxic Avenger.
Yeah.
So there's a few more that's coming up to my head that I'm trying to remember.
Yeah.
But there's a lot.
Killer Tomatoes and Toxic Crusader. How can I forget that? I love those IPs as well. Dope. I love the live action as much as I love the cartoons.
Yeah. Well, listen, I think it's time to rank the Real Ghostbusters 1986 cartoon. So let's get into that. Okay, it's time to rank it. At the end of every cartoon review that we do, because we are retroholics and we are drunk of nostalgia, we love to rank these products, these franchises by pints. I believe when we did Captain Bucky O'Hare, we gave that 2.5.
I think so. I can't even remember.
With Captain Planet, what did we give that? 2.5?
Yeah.
What are you giving the Real Ghostbusters? How many pints out of 5?
So this is a difficult one for me, because you've got to look at the series as a whole, in its entirety. If it was just the first 2 series, then it would be a lot higher than what I'm going to give it. But looking at it as a whole, with like the awful nonsense of Slimer becoming the main character, and the max I can give it is 3 solid pints, alcohol free, halal.
Oh, halal mode.
Well, I think I have to agree. I'm gonna give the Real Ghostbusters 3 out of 5 pints. The first 2 series were great. I think it was a brilliant adaptation of the iconic movie. You can watch it to this day.
To this day.
To this day. To this day.
And still enjoy it. Even some of the ghosts are quite scary. They really tapped into the scary factor in it as well, and the comedy was great. So yeah, I would agree. I'm gonna give it 3 out of 5 pints. Big up to the Real Ghostbusters, an amazing cartoon. I would recommend anybody who hasn't watched it to watch it. You can find it probably on Amazon. You might have to pay for it to rent it, but hey man,
Yeah,
you probably paid to rent worse things.
that's for sure.
It's been brilliant talking to you about Ghostbusters, man. I really enjoyed this episode. I really hope everyone are listening to this and who subscribe to us, and so please subscribe to our YouTube channel Retroholics, our Twitter online the Retroholics,
And our Instagram, we are
Retroholics. So please keep following us. I'm Skillet,
and I'm Free Thought,
and we'll be back with some more great cartoons to discuss. Trust me on that. Hold us to that one, because what stuff is coming.
And you already know, I ain't afraid of no ghosts.
We ain't afraid of no ghosts. Bow.
Oops. We now return to the Real Ghostbusters.